In this video I'm just going to give you a quick view at how to set up a Supersource animation using a couple of boxes. To do that we just go into our palettes and we select Supersource, and we're going to be using animation, but what we do is that we set up all the 4 boxes or whatever we need to suit the effect that we want. So in this effect I'm just going to do a pip on top of one box on top of another, and then just bring the pip up to full screen. And to do that I need to get my priorities right. Always remember that box 1's on top of box 2, which is box 3, it was on box 4. So I always tend to leave on these smaller effects, leave box 1 available to give me a priority box if I need to put a box on top of everything else. So let's just go to box 3, and what I want to do is that I'm going to be putting box 2 as a pip on top of box 3. So currently these are just set to, there's nothing here at the moment, there's no keyframes or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make box 3 a full screen box, and currently we're just sitting at anything at the moment that's just not set to anything. So for me to make that full screen is all I have to do is select the box that I want and then hit reset. You'll see that the box has been reset to 50%, which is the default ATEM size. So we're just going to make that 100%. I'm just going to use a numerical value here and just type in 100. There you go, 1, enter, and now it's gone to full screen, as you can see here, and as you can see it's full screen up there, and then you see box 2 is just sitting in the middle here. So we're just going to now adjust that as a pip. So I'm just going to go to box 2. You can see the size is really small, so I'm just going to just eyeball this to a size there, about there somewhere. I can use the knob, which I'll show you in a moment. So there it is sitting up there. I'm just going to use the sliders for the moment to just roughly put it into position. So there it is up there somewhere, and I was just using the sliders here, and now I'm just going to just do a fine tune on the X position. So I just select X, and as I turn the knob you'll see it's doing these are coarse adjustments, but nowhere near as coarse as using the slider. So that's me just adjusting the if I go and select the Y, I can now position that to where I want it. So that's basically the pip that I want to do. And once I've set both the boxes for this particular effect, I go to animate, and then I can just tell it to insert that as a keyframe. We're sitting right at the very first thing here. So I just go, there it is, it's now set as a keyframe. So now I want to set the second keyframe, and the way I'm going to do that is to, I can just enter in a number here and just say 12 frames. I'll go one second because I want to put a keyframe in the middle. So now you can see now, this is a dynamic timeline and it expands and compresses depending on the number of keyframes. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to enter that same parameter again. Just hit enter, and now that same parameter is in both keyframes. But while we're parked now on the second keyframe, we go back to the settings. Box 2 is our pip. I now want to make that box, which you can see up here in the top right hand corner, I want to make that now full screen. So to do that we're just going to go reset, and I'll just set this to 1 and hit enter. And now if you look up here you can see that box is now full screen. So now we're going to go back to the animate, and while our cursor's still parked on the last one we're just going to go and tell it to re-enter that keyframe, and there it is now set. So if I go back to the first one and hit run, you can see it runs for 25 seconds. Just go back home again, I'll show you up here. There's our opening keyframe and there's our animation. Now what I want to do in here is that I just want to make it go to a middle keyframe. So let's just go to say 12 and go animate. So now we see our cursor's halfway between the 2 keyframes. And now what I want to do is I'm going to insert another keyframe in there. So I'm going to go enter, and now we've got a keyframe sitting in the middle. So there it is there. So we're going to go and park on that keyframe. As you can see up here, it's actually parked halfway through that move because it's got a keyframe in between the first and last. So now what I'm going to do, go back, and we're just going to now change. You can see the parameters now on box 2 are the parameters halfway between those two keyframes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, it's going to reduce the size a little bit. You can see up here I'm just reducing the size a little bit. I'm then going to go and move the y-axis, select the y-axis, just down a bit, and then I get move the x-axis just over a little bit like that. Now this is a second keyframe. Sorry, a phone call just came through. So now we're just going to go back out to layout, and we're going to now enter that as a keyframe. And then if we go home, we hit run, you see it's doing the move down there. I'll show you the screen up here. Just go home. Oh, yeah, frame it up for you. And then I tell it to run. And you can see it, there it is running. And you see it goes through a mid position. That's running backwards, and that's running forward. So it's going through a mid position. And what we can do, for instance, if I just, we're at home now, if I just select position, I can then turn the knob, and you can see the knob is turning. Now what that is doing is that's actually giving you a step-by-step as the keyframes are, so you can actually manipulate each position of that frame if you want to do some really tricky movements, like if you want to really swing it out over here somewhere or something like that. You can also, I'll just go back home, that's the first keyframe. I can change the motion on that. I'm going to change it to say ease in. And now when I do an ease in, you'll see it, you probably won't see it so well here. You can see that the actual motion changes a little bit. Let's just try and get it a more accentuated. Just change that motion to say 3. So you can go ease in and ease out. So if I now go up here and hit run, you can see it starts off fast and then eases in. If we go back home again and I just change this to ease out, you see there's hole there as well, so you can make it jump between keyframes. So let's go to 3, say something like that, and we go have a look here, and we go run. That was where it eased out. But we can also do linear. What was the other one? Let's go home here. And each keyframe has its own motion type as well. And there's another one called pause. Now if I just go to the second one, what this is good for is that if you have multiple positions you want the keyframes to be, you can tell it to, rather than run through them, it can pause on each one. So in here, say this middle keyframe, if I hit pause, you see it goes red. We go home, and now when I run this, you'll see it'll run, and it'll pause, and it's waiting for you to hit run again to continue on. And there it is there. And of course the same thing when you go backwards, it'll pause, and then it'll run back. Just some examples here. Let me just go back in here. I'll just load you some little examples that I made up for you. So let's go load. It's getting the files. One box key, 3 keyframes. All right, let's just see what that is. Let's just see what this one does. Oh, okay. That was a nothing. Let's try this one. Oh, okay. That's not a bad one. Let me just this has got, as you can see, it's got multiple keyframes with pauses on them. I'm just going to quickly go out here and turn the border off. Art off. board off. There it is there, off. I've got to remember to frame the phone as I'm talking to you. So let's just go back to here, animate. And as you can see here, these reds mean they're going to pause. So as I hit the run, it runs and pauses. So this is like if you've got a studio interview and studio's cutting to location, and then we can go full screen to location by hitting run, and then we can then return back. Now I've got a similar one where I'm actually using box priorities, as I mentioned earlier. So if I just go to load, this is to overlap box 2 over box 3, then box 1 over box 2. So let's just load that one, and similar thing. You can see there it is. It's using motion, linear, ease in motion, and then we hit the button, hit it to play again, and there it is. And of course we can just hit reverse, and it then goes back to where it was. So a good little, if you're doing two ways, you can use that effect. Let me see what is full box swap away. I don't think there's anything else in here. This is one box up, two boxes, one full screen, one pip. Oh, that was the effect that I just made for you. But this one has got a little bit of an extra bonus. You'll see up here, the first box will actually come in using a crop. So we just go there. You see it's cropped in, then zooms up. So you can even program your crops. And if I now go to the jog mode, as I showed you before, using the jog wheel here, you'll see as I show you, I've got the borders turned off at the moment. You can see that's jogging through the crop. So the crop is animated. The zoom X and Y axis is animated, and it goes through those multiple keyframes. So basically, there you have it. I have to move on. There's a lot of extra stuff I'm going to add into all this animation. It's a lot of work, and I need to get some other things finished so I can move on. Let me see what this one does. Okay, it's another one of my blank ones, I think that's just about it. So as you can see, everything's fully programmable, and hopefully I'll start selling these soon. Thank you for watching.